OB-10B, Bronco. Very little. There was increasing interest on the part of the United States military in a tough, easy to maintain, easy to operate, close support aircraft able to support the troops on the ground. In the early 1960s, it led to a tri-service requirement between the US Air Force, US Marine Corps and US Army. And it was a very rigorous requirement indeed. The aircraft had to be twin crewed. It had to be able to be very manoeuvrable, capable of withstanding between +8 and -3G. It had to fly aircraft carriers, top speed of 350 miles an hour, be able to carry 2,400 pounds of cargo, 60 paratroops or stretchers, among other requirements. That competition was born by the design we see here, initially known as the North American NA-300, later renamed the OB-10 Bronco. It entered service in time for duty in the Vietnam War. First to go into action, those from the United States being used for observation for their control duties. The US Air Force soon followed. Broncos used extensively in Vietnam to direct strikes by military provided transports engaged in the branch and decolonization missions. This was an outstanding airplane. And here we see the
Charlie Romeo from contact Duxford display 132.19.
US Marine Corps Broncos and meanwhile parachutists. Very appropriate, with which to accompany with OB-10B. The current centenary events around the First World War. This aircraft today based at Breitling in Belgium, and it wears back to England. Also, is painted on the aircraft as a special scheme for 2017. That's the Bronco demo team's theme for this year. The area in which this aircraft is today based. Undercarriage down now. The aircraft won't be landing off this, it's got none of its crew to Team Valley today. An aircraft that remains relevant in today's combat theatres. The aircraft did redeploy to Afghanistan last year and performed excellently, probably supporting special forces in the fight against the so-called Islamic State. So there we have the ex-West German Air Force.
Side of the aircraft as he carries out an on-ground loop. 600 kilograms of fuel per minute. So in the first 3 manoeuvres he's actually burnt a metric ton of fuel. Was rushing to his head, very, very uncomfortable for the pilot. The G suits only protect against positive G, so all of that, he was straining his body muscles to stop the blood from pooling up in his head, which allows him to maintain focus whilst he's in the cockpit. Back down to 100 feet, and 600 now. So Ryan will now point the aircraft back at the crowd before carrying out a minimum radius turn. So he'll be feeling 9G once he pulls out of this. So as Ryan breaks out of that, he will slow the aircraft down. So Ryan will now set up for a knife-edge pass. This is one of the few instances where you get to see the top of the aircraft, so get your cameras ready for a good shot inside the cockpit. We'll give Ryan a wave because he'll be able to see you all along the crowd line. Ryan now comes head onto the crowd and will drop the undercarriage and will now carry out a dirty loop.
mixed views of it, I think, beforehand, but both thoroughly enjoyed it.
When you consider if you put your own, if you put your arm out of the car window when it's going to think about 30, it's big pieces going, or these aircraft are going, and then to do these kind of acrobatics, you do need not only courage, but you need strength, core strength as well.
Absolutely, and no wonder when you... And this is a display where audience participation is pretty much mandatory. It goes without saying. They can more or less see you through the snow. I'm sure it makes them feel even better if you're waving back at them as they go past, and you'll see them using the swivelling rigs on top of these aircraft. And these are very historic aircraft. The Boeing Stearman Model 75, one of the great training airplanes of all time. Thousands of US pilots during the war years. All over the world. In the winter of 2015 to 2016, they displayed in the United Arab Emirates. They went to India in 2015, followed by Japan. All the while, some very memorable displays there. And now I think the girls are doing some top wins.
Whereas we should point out that these ladies are securely held in these aircraft. I'm not talking about a pilot, I'm talking about proper shackles and so on. But it really is safe, but you still need lots of courage to get up and do the time.
Into orders for a break. Very enthusiastic so uses space and powers on them, and the first wingwalking team was sponsored by Hugo Cars back in 1987. There's a name to come to this from the past. In the opposition manoeuvres now. It's on their sides as they went past there. And this, of course, Colin, has its roots very much in the interwar days, not just the aircraft, but this type of display.
Yes, this is the sort of barnstorming era of the late 20s, here in the UK to some extent. Flyers that qualified during the First World War, and back, many jobs that was top of the pressure as well. Something that displays in village fields and something like that. Persuade enterprising young ladies to live this country.
Associated with this airfield because aircraft of this type were operational here with the 78th Fighter Group of the US Army Air Force, the 8th Air Force. There was of course such a presence across the whole of East Anglia during the last 3 years of World War II. In the case of the Mustang, it was late 1944, decisive role that the Air Fighting Development Unit played in its eventual success. Breitling Stearman's taxiing in, the Wingwalkers on the wing, leading edge, waving as they taxi to parking. Thank you very much indeed to them. Into the air, the great Duxford favourite, resident and flying here now for 42 wonderful years, Boeing B-17G Flying Fortress Sally B. Of US airmen serving. Open. The main target of the fairly bristled with machine guns, 13 of them in all, in different turrets. Only one of these aircraft, the Sally B Supporters Club, this is for you. many benefits of Supporters Club membership. You can sign up today when the aircraft taxis back to its parking slot, having finished its display. Very nearby, you can see their sales stand with the B-17 Sally B flags flying above it. You can sign up to the So they're touching down with thanks to its operator, Ellie Sallingbow from B-17 Preservation. Boeing B-17G Flying Fortress Sally B. Duxford wouldn't be Duxford without it. Busy programme of displays and commemorative flypaths planned for Sally B right across the UK this season, and quite rightly so. It's one of the great heritage assets on the UK. This aircraft is indelibly associated with the history of this airfield as the Hurricane display with the Agusta gyro, and then the contrasting form of the Army Air Corps Apache, which I think is crewing if not already doing so. We will try, if the wind drops off quite a bit, to fly the Grey 14 at the end of the day, time permitting, because we do have a number of aircraft coming in as touring display items today. And they may well have to adhere to their existing slot times here at Duxford. While we do that, they're keeping us informed by phone, and we'll have some further information shortly. But the Mustang will be coming down into land, and very nice to possibly get a few more passes. 8th Air Force Combine running in from our right, the TF-51D Mustang. Service that the then boss of the Airfighter Development Unit at RAF Duxford suggested to the Rolls-Royce Chief Test Pilot Ronald Parker that he might like to test fly one of the new North American Mustangs that the unit had here on evaluation. Take an extraordinarily short time to come off the drawing board and become reality. The thought was, the Mustang would be good if it could switch to a Rolls-Royce Berlin engine, hence the desire to involve Ronnie Parker. Sold to new operating analysts here, again, operating flying air leasing. Miss Velma, the colour scheme that World War II Mustang Ace Franklin seal.
last pass, just extend and display that Mustang coming up.
Not just for the top of the puck, but also for the replica World War I aircraft of the record display team. And there it is, the record display team. Really quickly back in the TF-51 with what verb does he fly?
This makes traffic and predicting the aircraft's flight difficult for an enemy attempting to engage. The TZ aircraft was pitched 90 degrees nose up to 90 degrees nose down on the nose point. After 3 successful strikes and with enemy vehicles burning, the pilot positions the aircraft in a high wheel, circling the target to allow the front seat to conduct a comprehensive battle damage assessment on the target. Whilst not the Apache's impressive range of maneuverability. Establishing in the high hover at 800 feet, Jim will initiate with cycling stick to pitch the aircraft to 90 degrees nose down, balancing the pedal before performing a backing twist to a level 2. As the aircraft approaches 120 knots, or approximately 140 miles per hour, Jim can once again convert the energy and momentum into a 90 degrees nose up climb. As the aircraft reaches zero airspeed, he can use the Apache's powerful tail rotor to rotate the aircraft, pivoting about its centre through 180 degrees. This manoeuvre is known as the pedal turn. You may want cameras at the ready as the aircraft returns to crowd centre for a close-up look at the 360 degree wing over. Entering the manoeuvre at 200 feet and 120 knots, the aircraft is pitched to 60 degrees nose up and 90 degrees back. Combining half-cycle pedal inputs as well as monitoring the ground quiet, a 10-ton helicopter can be flown back over its right shoulder through 360 degrees. A hard left 360 degree 90 degrees to keep the weapons and firing constraints for as long as possible. Both the rockets and missiles can engage targets out to ranges of 8 kilometers, while the powerful M230 30mm cannon mounted underneath the fuselage can fire high explosive rounds out to beyond 4 kilometers with a cycling rate of 625 rounds per minute. As you watch gunship perform sideways left drops, you can see the Apache's personal model performance and a representative operational weight. Above the main motor decibel ranges from the field of shore, the aircraft flying trip. The radar is able to scan the detecting over 1,000 targets, prioritizing and offering the pilot 16 simultaneous flight solutions through the aircraft's weapons processor. Along with target detection and missile guidance, the radar is also capable of mapping the terrain of the aircraft in flight to assist with navigation onto airports and during very bad weather. On the nose of the aircraft is the target acquisition and designation site, or TADS. This houses the ATV and infrared cameras, as well as the Class 4 laser for ranging and missile guidance. A further infrared sensor, mounted above the TADS, can be slaved to the pilot's helmet position, allowing flight at night in pitch black, solely with reference to the image projected into their right eye from the helmet-mounted vehicle. As seen earlier, this helmet sight can also be used to control the position of the gun, one of the Apache's 4 famous party tricks. The Army Air Corps continues to actively recruit both officer and non-senior levels of 300 course crew, being together they produce more power through an ongoing flexibility. As the crew reset for the signature finale of the Apache display, we'd like to ask Apache attack helicopter.
Hey!
your 2017 Attack Helicopter Display Team. To finish, I just want to remind you that you can visit us on social media if you want to use news and information about upcoming displays. Feel free to share your pictures on there, also it's always appreciated by the team and you can find us by searching Facebook and Instagram at Display Team or on Twitter at AHDT. If you'd like to meet today's pilots, they will be available after landing at the Apache static display. We wish you an enjoyable rest of your weekend, and as ever, we thank you for your ongoing support to the British Armed Forces.
Take off straight out. Competition the best photo taken here of the weekend. You can share and hashtag your photographs with hashtag Duxford Air Festival. This on Instagram and Twitter to be in for a chance to win 2 gold passes to the Battle of Britain Air Show here this September. An opportunity not to be missed. Share and hashtag your photographs with hashtag Duxford Air Festival taken here this weekend. Be in with a chance of winning some tickets, 2 gold passes to the Battle of Britain Air Show here this September. A reminder also that Planes TV are here all weekend recording for the official Duxford Air Festival DVD and Blu-ray. 5 cameras on site, still more planned to go on board some of the display aircraft. If you advance order the DVD or Blu-ray today, you can take away a free DVD called Air Show Action 10, containing more than 90 minutes of aviation action of various types, including the 14 Spitfire lines, colour scheme, the mainly yellow one in the row of airliners outside, or of course, visit plane.
Collectively, the team have 30,000 warriors. And this is the Spitfire roll. The beauty of the Extra 200 is that we have 2 seats, one at the front and one at the back. So if you'd like to experience close simulation flying and fantastic maneuvers, then please do get in touch. Now approaching from the left, base 1, 2, 3 and 4. You can see they go now in inverted anti-right along the ground line. Watch very carefully as you see the smoke come on at the top of the loop. And this is called the snake. And in the second half, you can expect to see some more fantastic close formation flying, where the planes will fly around 12 feet apart. He's a former Harrier pilot and also former team leader of the RAF Red Arrows. He takes over from Mark Cutmore, who's flying in the Blade 4 position, and Mark originally led the team for the past 5 years. And here they go once again into the quarter clover. And this, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is the fan brake. Holding at the top there for the mirror split. Mirror's pilot, she is and was the only female Red Arrow pilot.
380 the DVD costs £16.99 plus postage and packing, and you can place your order and collect your free DVD. Hunting Percival company and then Hunting Aircraft. It's a jet-powered version of their previous piston engine, Provost. Soon, though, it was developed into something rather more. The Mark I made its maiden flight in 1954 and soon came into RAF service with the Central Flying School at Little Rissington. Solo quickly on the jet-powered Provost, the piston engine equivalent. The RAF ordered 110 of them entering service at the Central Flying School. And several of the RAF's flying training schools. From the 1980s, the late 1980s, the type began to be replaced by the turboprop Shorts Tucano. At the last. And it was as an offshoot of the Jet Provost that the Strikemaster was developed. The aircraft that's number 2 in this duo. A light attack aircraft designed for use by countries that weren't able to afford to buy or operate more expensive, bespoke, complex frontline types. Still fully operated, Viper engine fitted, and of course underwing weapons hard points put on the aircraft, able to carry Strikemaster. One of 24 Strikies, as the type was often nicknamed, supplied new to the Salts of Oman's Air Force in 2 batches, this one built in 1986. Today it's operated from Havilland near Chester by North Wales Military Aviation Services. A company that offers jet conversion training and has significant stocks of Strikemaster spares, provides maintenance and other services, as well as operating this one on the display circuit. Operates the 80 Strikemaster flying training school at Fittingley in South Yorkshire, the training of navigators, particularly those destined for low-level and air defence work. After its RAF retirement, it was acquired by Global Aviation, went through several owners before its current one, Jeff Bell, bought it in September 2007. He had it refurbished by North Wales. classic aircraft display pilots in the UK, and he's very much into his classic jets, having spent a long time as a volunteer taxi pilot on the taxiable Buccaneers that are based at Bruntingthorpe. He's since graduated to display flying on the jet Provost, has joined this new two-ship team, Strikemasters, but here, Strikemaster and JP this year. Ollie's a Tornado pilot. He's also flown the Tornado occasionally in air shows, not least as part of a three-ship from different countries at the Royal International Air Tattoo a couple of years ago. Mark Petrie, an airline captain. Concluding then the show from the BAC Jet Provost T5 and Strikemaster Mark 82A. So, two classics in Dragonfly. Rebuilt in the mid-1930s for a new owner, Charles Gardner. Which in Gardner's hands won 1937.
And Alex Henshaw, of course, sadly no longer with us, but he did visit Duxford just a few years ago, a couple of years in fact before he died. I had the chance to speak to him and tell wonderful, colourful stories. Filling up the aircraft with more fuel from big oil drums, you know, and you just can't imagine.
Then running in from our left as a pair, by contrast, was a no compromises racing design. In the 1930s, handicap air racing and record-breaking flights were ever increasing in their popularity. Person's Gull series of aircraft was already performing a far more exclusive and less practical proposition. The initial prototype was initially powered by a Napier Javelin engine, soon replaced by the rather more dependable Havilland Gypsy 6. In total, 6 were built. In 1937, he competed regularly against the other new Gulls in the remaining pre-war years, and there was a very friendly rivalry that developed between Henshaw and Charles Gardner, the owner of red new Gull G AEKL, the one represented by the red replica that we see here. Henshaw went on to win the 1938 King's Cup, and a speed with further modifications to the airframe came that momentous Cape Record flight of February 1939. That little aeroplane took 4 days, 10 hours, 16 minutes. The 1936 vintage engine that he found had only run for 6 hours from new when he bought it for the project. And it's got an engine serial number of that counterpart between those that were used on production new Gulls. Alex Henshaw's new Gull, as it will forever be known, rolling out on Duxford's grass. But now, a magnificent shape for the... As I was saying a little earlier on, the Dragonfly was moving its factory from Stag Lane near Edgware in North London to Havilland in Hertfordshire, but it felt that the publicity it could gain from winning the McRobertson race would outweigh the effort and the expense. By mid-February 1934, orders for 3 Comets had been placed. The first was bought by James and Amy Mollison. Amy Johnson, as was and would be again. Another by the Australian racing driver Bernard Rubin. And the third from Arthur Edwards, the managing director of London's Grosvenor House Hotel. What Havilland came up with was a bespoke design, highly streamlined, with, as you can see here, a very small frontal area. This one named Grosvenor House, followed a month later, and the third one for Bernard Rubin 3 days after that. Scott, it was the first twin-engined aircraft he'd ever flown. The crowd at Milton Hall, that 3 Comets to fly directly to Baghdad. Black Magic, the Mollison's aeroplane, did so. Grosvenor House stopped briefly at Kirkuk. The other one today, a typical commercial airline flight, including a stopover in the Middle East or Far East, takes about 21 to 22 hours. This is the aircraft that did that. And another red and white Havilland classic displays its latest return to flight. And it's worth mentioning that it returned to flight once before with the Shuttleworth collection after a major restoration effort. Doing so again in May 1987, and it was 30 years ago this weekend, on the Springbank holiday weekend, that this aircraft, the Comet, made its display debut in the hands of then Shuttleworth pilot George Ellis at the RAF Milton Hall Air Fete. Thus, another anniversary to remark upon today's display. Very much one of the flagships of the Shuttleworth collection. Grounded for many years after the closure of its hall, demonstrating those 3 races so beautifully in this gusting wind today, all stowed in the Comet Dodge Bailey transport. Today, designed at the top end of the private owner market, first flight made in F-35, and there was an emerging community of business customers as well for aircraft of this type in that era. They had certain expectations, closed cabin, twin engines. Period. Adverts looking out the place for the Dragonfly said, open your own airliner. They described it as being for private ownership, cyclical travels, air charters, training for twin-engine flying, aerial survey, light traffic airlines, freighting, and medical view inspection techniques used, some of which indeed were based on those first used on the Comet that we've just seen. Final pass now.
Typhoon. Copy, please.
Then came back to the UK for a time owned by Tony H. Thomas and Martin Barrett, as part of their Havilland aircraft collection. Then to the United States before it came back to Britain thanks to Torquil Norman. He owned it until 2014 when it was bought by Shipping and Airlines to join their excellent collection of largely pre-war vintage aircraft. They're based at Biggin Hill. When you see it on the ground again in a short while, you might notice it's got a Royal Air Force position there, display there next to one on the programme. We have an update for you. The plan is for the Great War display team to now close the flying programme, and again that will be with conditions permitting. So that's the hope at the moment. As the Dragonfly comes in on the hard runway, feeding it gently down.
See it landing.
Very elegant flying indeed. From Dan Griffith adding another aeroplane to the list of types we've seen him fly here at Duxford, including many Warbirds, Great War display team aircraft, and of course an amazing Boeing 727 that we saw him in 3 years ago. But now, planes for use in the wilds of northern Canada. The Norsemen before the war, where the aircraft nor its occupants were ever found. Norsemen may have been hit by bombs jettisoned from RAF Lancasters flying over the channel on return from a mission. But isn't the only well-known or great name associated with this aircraft. One of its others is its creator, Bob Nordau. Norseman was intended specifically for use in northern Canada. It was a very hard area design, all metal, fuselage structure made of steel tubing, wooden wings with a fabric skin, a large cargo door for easy loading, high wing configuration, and importantly it could fly on floats, wheels, or skis. In fact, the first prototype flew off water on floats from the St. Lawrence River near Montreal, not far from the Nordau Company HQ. And that's the power plant that the vast majority of subsequent Norsemen used. Just 17 of them had been delivered by the outbreak of war. But when hostilities began, the Royal Canadian Air Force showed some interest. Initial usage of impressed excellent examples. They're to orders for many more. Given the performance of the British military operations in here we have a very luxurious beaver in comparison with many operated by the aircraft restoration company and the Air Force. They are seen completely civilianised, given it a very plush interior which even, they say, has its own sound system. John remains a maiden flight here at Duxford on the 22nd of February 2011. But they're touching down beautifully on Duxford's grass, the first time one of these aeroplanes has been seen here since the war, and I believe for the first time at any British display, the Northbound UC-64A Norseman, which today was flown by Finn carrier Shurud. And that's followed.
Spitfire Society raffle. The winning ticket is yellow 202. Yellow 202, that's the Spitfire Society raffle. Winning ticket today. Get along to the Spitfire Society stand.
But now back to aerobatics. From our left, the Trig aerobatic team. 2 Pintest 1D specials. Pilots. And a display that for those of us with long memories of air shows takes us back to some great aerobatic teams of the past that flew the pits. There was the Marlborough team. There were the Royal Jordanian Falcons. And now we have the Trig aerobatic team sponsored by Trig Avionics. Going away for a break on the B-axis, a crossing break, and they'll be joining up once again via the crossover. It's a single seat S1D variant that we see on display here today. There is a 2-seat S2 model as well. A design that dates from the war years, which is when Curtis Pitts, its creator, came up with it. In there for the opposition pass. Quite low power compared with many of today's unlimited aerobatic machines, but of course very lightweight, so excellent power to weight ratio. And a great introductory machine for people wishing to get into competition, aerobatic flying, or indeed the display world, as we see here. Smoke on as they run in for a loop. Up and round, pulling through. And a very nice touch to the extremely attractive colour scheme on these aircraft as they pull up to our left, full synchronised small turns. Airspeed washing off. Round they go with the rudder. And a quick rejoin for a barrel roll. And we did what's so named because it looks like they're tracing their way around the inside of an imaginary barrel in the sky. Crossing over uncomfortably, pulling the negative G in front of us as he pushes over there. We have he comes in. With an Avalon pulling through. Up for a half Cuban. Pulling up to the loop, but rolling off the top. Coming back in the other direction. Down the line. As Richard runs in from our left, having been positioned for another head-on pass. Boat pulling up, pushing over more negative G at the top. A display team of Cassets joined by Dave Pulliston and one other pilot called the Dukes of Casset before starting their Pitts pair. Now here's something of a signature maneuver for the team, which they call the triple turnaround, which is 3 half Cubans going onto various axes. Represents trig in various events, taking aircraft over to Friedrich's half of Germany for the Aerobatic show earlier this year for that reason. Completing that triple turnaround now. All the while showing us what a magnificent display now the Pitts Special is. Very competitive in its heyday of competition aerobatics, so often beaten at the World Championships by the then latest Eastern European designs from the likes of Zlin and Havilland. Richard Gray saying over the railing is there, the longest interwind mirror pass ever flown, battling against the elements, but holding a rock steady formation down the display line. Formation now, with a head-on line of stern brake. There's the brake. And now they're getting ready for their last passes. Here they come past us and waving from the now open canopies, the 2017 Trig Aerobatic team. Very, very good display indeed from Richard Grace and Dave Pulliston. Both now stalwarts of the Duxford Warbird season. Dave now also flying. The first of the two pits coming to a stop in very, very little distance, and with a brilliant demonstration of synchronised and opposition and close formation aerobatics. DBY-5A, Catalina. Plain sailing to Catalina gets airborne. An aircraft that was developed in the run-up to the impending World War II when the US Navy recognised that it had a need for Catalinas of the US Navy sighted the Japanese fleet making for Midway, and it was a Kanso, as they were known when built by Canadian Vickers for the Royal Canadian Air Force, as this one originally was, that spotted a Japanese invasion force heading for Ceylon, and thereby helped save the Royal Navy fleet in the Indian Ocean. An area in which German submarines were able to roam almost at will, supported by the menace of the Focke-Wulf FW-200 Condor long-range maritime aircraft. And Colin, it was of course an area out of range of existing land planes, which is why a flying boat was so useful there.
Absolutely, you mentioned the gap in the Atlantic. As very often happens in wartime, courage and skill aren't enough, technology has to move on, and the things that made the difference as far as the Battle of the Atlantic.
The Royal Navy managed to press home their attack. The importance of the North Atlantic, of course, was in the context of the supply convoys delivering vital supplies to the United Kingdom via that route. So it had to be kept open as far as possible. Now here we see the Catalina flying past us with the wingtip floats deployed. Pilots were recipients of the Victoria Cross, Flying Officer John Cruikshank of number 210 Squadron, and a Canadian Flight Lieutenant David Hornell of number 162 Squadron. Royal Canadian Air Force both pressing home attacks against U-boats while under heavy fire.
Sorry, I'm not back with you now. With the floats deployed on this particular pass, and iconic profile of this great next to
The colours of this one are those of a rescue Catalina, an OA-10A operated by the 50th Year Theatre for quite some time, but they weren't available until very late in the war. The one that this one depicts was involved in an incredible sortie. It was on the 30th of March 1945. It was trying to pick up the pilot of a downed B-51 Mustang and landed on the water. When they tried to get off again, the crew found the starboard engine had failed. They were close to the Dutch coast, so they wanted to get away from that to avoid the attentions of potential enemy fire from one source or another. They taxied on the water for 90 minutes, and they remained, having taken the dinghies on there until the 4th of April. In the meantime, the Catalina had been shot up by a Messerschmitt Me-262 jet fighter of the Luftwaffe, and the loss of that Catalina, which wore a nose-aft Miss Pickup, which has been put on this airworthy example operated by plane sailing along the second part of the Duxford scene. This very beautiful aeroplane. Now on final approach. Seen all over Europe, and again it will be this year. It's going to display at Stormer in Norway in a couple of weeks' time. Last in over Norway in 2012, right up into the Arctic Circle. It's involved in an expedition to Greece in 2015, undertaken by students from Westland College, which was quite an undertaking, but here in for what I'm sure will be a very short landing from plain sailing. The consolidated PBY-5A Catalina, flown today by former Royal Air Force Hercules and Andover transport pilot going ahead, and with him, keeping the nose remarkably high down to walking pace, with him on the flight deck today was Gareth Bliss. Beautifully demonstrated as ever, but now it's back to the classic jet world, and look out to your left. No other jet aircraft currently can. It's one of the most distinctive shapes in the sky here. The aircraft that made its post-restoration debut in Duxford in 2001. It hasn't been back since. Here it is now, the Havilland C6 FAW2. Provost conceived with the Havilland DH to meet both. The RAF opted for the Gloucester Javelin, which of course served here as RAF Duxford. The Royal Navy initially wanted an upgraded Sea Venom, but the Havilland resumed its interest. The first operational squadron was in its day in the Cold War period was a good bomber destroyer, but arguably still a bit outmoded compared to other. With the observer sitting in what was known as the coal hole beneath the pilot in the right-hand side of the nose. Sea Vixens were involved in many carrier-borne operations with the Royal Navy. They never went properly to war. And amongst other things, they patrolled around Iraq and Kuwait in 1961 after Iraq not for the last time had threatened Kuwait, flying off HMS Victorious. They made air-to-ground strikes, providing support to British forces against rebels in the Radfan area of Yemen. Now here, we see the Sea Vixen with wheels and I expect a rest hook down for a 360-degree orbit at Crowd Centre. Confrontation between Indonesia and Malaysia, and at least once one of these aircraft intercepted a Tupolev Tu-16 Badger bomber of the Indonesian Air Force. But the end was so high, 899 named less, in whose markings this aircraft appears, conducted the last Sea Vixen cruise aboard HMS Eagle in 1971-72 around Australia and the Far East. 72, and this one, the last airworthy survivor, carries proudly the winged fist emblem of 899 on its tail fins. It was built in 1963 by the Havilland's factory in Arden, in Chester. It was one of just 29 new-built Mark II Sea Vixens. The others were all converted Mark Is. It only served with 899 variously at the Overton and embarked aboard HMS Eagle. It later was converted into a pilotless target drone. Those including the Swordfish of the Royal Navy historic flight. It has other aircraft under its wing. And roaring past us there, under the power of the two Rolls-Royce Avon Mark 208 turbojet engines, the flagship, very much the Sea Vixen. The aircraft flown today by Commander Simon Hargreaves. Saint-Dizier in France. That's the French Air Force's Rafale conversion unit. coming down here, as indeed it does, as Marty brings the Rafale C in for a touch and go. This aircraft produced to meet the requirements of both the French Navy, the Admiral, and the French Air Force. Oh, sorry, first to take the Typhoon into operational service, followed by the Air Force. The Apache and Rafales have seen much combat action in all the theatres in which French forces have been engaged since the mid-2000s. emphasizing with other examples of the current generation of modern the Cold War hostilities that were later to develop between the West and the USSR had not fully broken out. One might take the start of the Berlin airlift in 1948, following the Soviet blockade of that city. It was desperately in need of money, being pretty much broke after World War II, so the first combat by MiG-15 was in 1950, towards the end of the Chinese Civil War, in which the Chinese communists were receiving Soviet assistance in their fight against the nationalist side. A division of MiG-15 BIS were deployed, and the first aerial victory was scored against a rather unlikely opponent, the nationalist P-38 Lightning. It was in the Korean War of 1950 to 53 that this aircraft won its spurs. Soviet and Chinese pilots flew them as well as North Koreans. A very effective tactic was developed whereby the MiG-15s would wait at altitude in large groups and then split to pounce from all directions on the aircraft of the United Nations forces. It was against an F-51 Mustang. The first MiG-15 combat victory in Korea was scored in November 1950, and later the same day, the first ever kill of a jet on another jet in history. MiG-15 down the Lockheed F-18C shooting star of the US Air Force. Soon the American attacks were suspended in the face of that threat in favour of nighttime raids. But at lower levels, the Sabre had the edge, and the US pilots were more experienced. Many of them had fought in the Second World War. That helped to turn the tide to some extent, and that was exacerbated when later model MiG-15s became, or F-86s I should say, became available to counter the MiG-15s. Throughout the rest of the Cold War, after the Korean War ended in 53, there were occasional confrontations with Western aircraft around the fringes of USSR and communist territory. When a Soviet MiG-15 shot down a Douglas DC-3 of the Swedish Air Force. It was engaged, albeit this wasn't revealed by the Swedes for many years down to it, became known as the Catalina Affair, to try and deflect attention away from the fact that the Swedes had been snooping with that DC-3. also very occasionally found themselves on the other end of the MiG-15's guns in 1953. An Avro Lincoln engaged in a training sortie down the air corridors linking the Federal Republic of Germany to Berlin, straight outside the corridors, and was shot down by MiG-15s. And Egyptian examples were flown in the 1956 Suez Crisis against Israeli and RAF aircraft. A design absolutely synonymous with the Warsaw Pact Air Forces of the Cold War, built under license by Avia in Czechoslovakia, as here by WSK in Poland, and by Shenyang in China, albeit as a two-seater only. This one's a two-seater, dating from 1952, served with the Polish Air Force until 1990, when it was sold to a private owner in the USA, based in Washington State. And the markings on this one are those of a MiG-15 flown by the Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin. This aircraft owned by the Norwegian Air Force Historical Squadron since 1918. And the reason the Gagarin last task coming up. Norwegian Air Force Historical Squadron also operate a pair of de Havilland vampires. We saw them flying with the MiG at the September show last year, and hopefully we'll do so again this September. Regular control. So in over the threshold to touchdown, Norwegian Air Force Historical Squadron, MiG-15 UTI, which will be living at Duxford this display season. Between its commitments, Kenneth Bockvisla, the boss and founder of the Historical Squadron, at the controls. Spitfire 1As. QV, the co-letters of number 19 Squadron. Worn by the Spitfire elite of that pair, the one owned by the Imperial War Museums and flown today by John May, leading a quite marvellous display. And the second one is land owned by Congratulations Chief Pilot. Well, that was to be the finale. Spitfires taxiing in, but we've got the Great War Display Team as the last act on the programme ready to take off. With one Spitfire making its way directly across the grass from parking spot on the other onto the harbour. Take a few moments to form up. Meanwhile, Comet. Thanks, Ben. And several in-cockpit special features on board, with types as diverse as the HD Gulls special here on stage 3. DVD of the Air Festival is 16.95 passengers. Boats to be stored on the airline or website rates to be Alex, a replica aircraft to the Air War of 1914. Off the grass, you can start to take off. It's infancy by the time the aircraft that waged that war were, by today's standards, were young and inexperienced. Their average age on entering the front line was just 20. They're challenging on these aircraft, which had very many challenging characteristics. The training was largely rudimentary. So imagine now you're standing in a British second-line trench, somewhere in the Somme sector of northern France, looking eastwards towards the British front line, towards the German trenches. On the horizon comes a large group of aircraft diving towards the trenches. In front, we've got a pair of Royal Aircraft Factory SE-5As turning what was known as the Circle of Joy. You can see CL-1s going off in the other direction, and below them we have you can see our sector reconnaissance of the German positions. That's accompanied by the Suffolk triplane. They're the two level aircraft going out to our right, off to the left, B-2C. B-2C then is fueled by one of the two Fokkers, and it looks like the B-2 has taken a kick, as has the Suffolk triplane with the other Fokker on its tail. Number 1 naval squadron in France. from 1960. Now, on the tail of the Sopwith, we have one of the two Gull's CL1s. One of those on the tail of the BE-2. It looks like the pilots of the BE-2 and the Sopwith didn't see them. They've been quickly attacked by these CL1s. That type first load is control overhead, BE-2C with a CL1 on its tail from the left. Sopwith triplane, the other CL1 on its tail crossing them from the right. And up above, the two Fokker triplanes trying to get a beat on the pair as Royal haven't seen what's happening now. They have. They split asunder. They're diving down to try and attack the entrance. You hear the sound of the machine guns. The likes of Albert Ball, Mick Cranach, James McCubby and Billy Bishop flew them. More than 5,000 SE-5s were built. Performer at all altitude, it's faster than his German rivals. He had an excellent rate of climb and was strong and agile. And there we see them. On the tails now of the two CL1s, the SE-5 going away to our left is in the markings of the 25th Aero Squadron, the US Expeditionary Force. With the RAF, both of these replicas are simulated scale replicas built from replicas close-in tail chases. Today, we're talking with aircraft like the Typhoon or Havilland we see of beyond visual range combat. It was nothing like that in the Great War. It was multiple aircraft circling, climbing, diving, jockeying into position, each trying to get onto the aircraft to make their turns and get into the best shooting position possible. Above the BE-2C, receiving the attentions of one of the Fokker triplanes, as the CL1s are both now very much in the sights of the SE-5As. Off to our right, we have Sopwith and Fokker triplanes engaged. BE-2 now up above with a Fokker on its tail coming in for a low-level dogfight. The Fokker triplane first flown in July 100 years ago. It was developed in significant part as a result of the excellent performance of the Sopwith triplane when it first appeared. The main attribute of the Agusta, as the DR1 was known, was that it was superbly agile in the turn, so it was one of the other leading German aces of the war. They were replaced by the end of hostilities by the Fokker B-7 biplane. As here, Sopwith and Fokker fly past, then we've got SE-5A and CL1 in behind them. Fire still going up from the trenches. And still the Sopwith triplane hasn't managed to shake off its Fokker counterpart, and still the BE-2C is stuck from right. Sopwith desperately trying to get away. The BE-2C simply unable to get away from the other triplane. Now the Fokker has got the BE-2 getting in behind it, turning a bit too tight inside. The Sopwith taking another hit but proving remarkably durable in this combat with the DR1. Then SE-5A. The BE-2 conquerors on in once again from the left, not their forte. And the trench dwellers half asleep. Bursts continue from the emplacements over on the far side of the airfield. A low pass from one of the DR1s from our left. Triplane, the common triplane and the Sopwith both breaking away. One group from one direction, the other from the other. It'll take them a few moments to form up, but from the right we'll have the two SE-5As and the two Junkers CL-1s. From the left the Sopwith and Fokker triplanes and the BE-2C. And with this we pay tribute to the aviators of all countries who took part in the First World War.